today, they talk to the Minister for Finance. We na Sheku Fantamadi Bangura. For sake of that, we want for welcome on the program. Good morning and welcome to the program. Good morning, Salon.
Yeah, good morning, Famble.
And the Ministry of Finance, they in charge of the country in fiscal policy. And 2025, the Salon fiscal policy statements focus on the fiscal consolidation, restore macroeconomic stability, for reduced budget deficit, manage debts, and do other things. Them within quarter one of the year 2025, how the budgets or how the economy don't they perform? Make we get the minister inside the program. Once again, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Musa. Thank you, Famble. So I think what's important for tell people and the way we will end 2024 and how the economy perform, that will be the basis for discuss how we begin to see how 2025 don't begin to turn out. In 2024, I foresee the economy, we do relatively okay on the economy in terms of we growth performance. But what's important, I think, first, we for understand say the size of this economy don't change. It don't double. We do a rebasing of the GDP. We are the gross domestic product of the country, meaning the aggregation of all the economic activities that way they take place in the country, waiting at the financial value of them, than at the GDP and it don't double. So first we they feel say we're a $4 billion economy. Now we know say we're $8 billion economy. So that's now very good information for the people. And what we call per capita income, meaning the income of one person inside this country, doubled from about 450 something to over 850 something now. So that's very important information as well, per capita income. What does this mean? I think it's very important for Ladies Foundation, very well for the people to understand the size of the economy. It means, say, one, not only double, but an important component got to do with the structure of the economy. The structure of the economy shifts. It shifts because we know, say, this country, more people in the inside agriculture, they access 60% of the population agriculture than they do. And then, less industry. 7% within the industry, and then we say we service sector be there about 33-35%. All that don't shift by this assessment and this rebasing of the GDP. We now get less number of agriculture people that involved in agriculture, about 33% now. We shift to what we call industry. We shift from 7 to 21%, threefold. Right, so you get more people involved in industry, more industrial activities that take place, more manufacturing, more construction. Right, that's industry, and then you realize say the service sector, whether it get to do with banking, whether it get to do with telecoms, whether it get to do with transport, then they don't shift to about 44%. Right, so you get what we call a shift in the economy. Very important information, and so from that point, and then what we notice from this thing is that the economy, the country look resilient now because we growth levels will be they expect say very low. It's even higher than we expect. In 2022 we grow by about 5.3%. In 2023 we grow about 5.6%. In 2024 we expect say the growth will be robust as well. Right, so that's the end. We will grow at we will be the estimated we will grow at the minimum of 4%. But that's the trajectory that we are running at, a resilient economy.
What are the factor for the shift here and whose impact to get on the economy?
Well, in terms of shifts, what you are saying is that for you see more, let's talk about the industry. You see more industrial activities in the country, more manufacturing there now. Right, if you grow, if we get large scale agriculture, but those agriculture they are adding value. So you get Boku large scale oil plantation, for example, gold trees, Sokfin, an example, or even large scale rice production where they take place. But in what is happening there is that for oil palm, for example, when we produce the oil palm, then now we make sure we manufacture the oil palm and add value per annum. So you get PC and Sons, you get Kissy Industries. These factories, what they are doing is they are producing many things where otherwise we for the import from outside. right? So they are producing oil, and those oil are in our market, but also exported, in fact. So that's one big thing. Secondly, Boko mining companies that don't come out of the country. It's not only iron ore anymore. You get heavy mineral sands. You get people do lithium mining. We don't begin, actually, they invest in them. And then you get also gold mining with it in the country. But Boko manufacture, with the manufacture other things like steel. I mean, I call it iron rod from scrap metals in the countries are factories. Timber products are actually, they are manufactured and value is added here. All of that we don't begin to account for. But importantly as well, let's talk about services. In services, don't underestimate the value of things like keke and Honda motorbikes. The scale of those are increasing. We are capturing all of those in the GDP calculation. What will not be able to do before. Now, when you add that, and then we bring the informal sector into the calculation, we improve the base here, the methodology as well. We improve the base here, but also we even use what we call the National Account Statistics methodology. We improve onto the modern one as from the old one, based on the 1993 standards that we already do. So that's the development, and then we try to make sure, say, everything that we are doing, and telecoms. I mean, people are using telephones. We capture it very effectively, the extent of those activities in the system. That's the dynamic. So there's a shift. Maybe the question is the shift transformational? That's the challenge that we have now.
Okay.
Yes, the challenge is for the shift will be transformational. It will have to do increased value addition on the mines, increased value addition in different type of industries, especially in agriculture. Increased value addition, but also the quality of technology. When it take place in the country, we got to make sure, say, more enhanced. We got to move into using more tech. And I'm happy, place like Central Bank, we don't introduce what we call the national switch system. The national switch system, they make sure, say, we get less for do with cash. Yeah, so you got to make sure, say, that particular innovation and in technology investment, people are imbibing and use them. That's where you start getting transformation. Plus, IT systems. Within the system now you got to begin to say we do more investment in the area than they make sure to drive efficiency into the economy. That's how you start transforming. But in terms of the shift has taken place. In terms of the size is there. People are building in this country. Look inside Freetown. This Freetown building architecture is completely different. What we need to move into, therefore make sure that building is done in a more efficient way so that services can be provided in an effective way to people for them able to provide and pay for them. So we're going to move and shift into that direction in a very transformative way. But on the economy generally, this is an economy that is resilient. And I think we are on a growth trajectory that is stronger. We have to make sure that we continue in that trajectory. Right. The growth is currently hovering around 4-5%. It's an economy that should be growing double that in a very sustainable way for the transformation to take effect. Right. That's the challenge we have, and that's the work that we have laid out for us.
You mentioned, say, now when they capture, telephones or tele-service, also when they capture keke, bike, and the rest. Then thing they are when they capture, it don't get any improvement on the economy.
Certainly. So that's what I'm saying. The improvement is the growth, because what is happening there is that you get people at the lower rank of the population get an opportunity for make income. When they capture that income, they will not let when they capture the income, and that income they add to the size of the economy, right? So everybody in effort, what you do for generate income through keke or motorbike, all of those we are counting. We are accounting for it now and appreciating in contribution to the growth efforts in the country. That's what we are doing. And that's the whole essence. Make sure that the informal sector is brought in to the measurement of the size of the country and the economy, rather.
All right. You also mentioned, say, the economy 2024 relatively do okay. Which you mean?
Well, your growth performance. The growth performance. So when you growth performance and many other indicators than they. So we get what we call the macroeconomic fundamentals, right? So it got to do with prices. It's not only your growth, but the price of goods and services, we don't call inflation. or the price of your currency, when are your exchange rate, plus other prices that are very important. Maybe the price of loanable funds, where we get some challenges when our debt, interest rate on debt or treasury securities. So those you watch them prices and see exactly how then they perform. That's what you look at. And they say whether the economy they do very well. Now you yourself will attest to me that the currency has been very stable in the last 12 months at the minimum after the redenomination will take place. So we get stable currency on all three markets. And the three markets and they would monitor for currency. Waiting the central bank they do, waiting the commercial banks and they do, and waiting the parallel markets they do. So on those three markets, the currency has been stable.
How important the revenue to GDP in economic management?
Well, that's so revenue. So when we change the GDP, when we rebase the GDP, what's happen? There's good and not good news, but also open eyes to other things. When you rebase the GDP, what happen is that with stock of debt level reduce, meaning we get room for borrow, but I could explain that in a more sophisticated way.
We look at debt servicing.
Yes, but I will come to that. But when you look at revenue, the revenue effort, because the denomination when at the GDP it don't double, with original efforts become lesser. Okay, that's what happened. So revenue to GDP effort drop, right? It dropped to about 7.9%, right? That is in 2022. As opposed to where we did over around 12-13%, okay, of effort. But the way me look at this, it tells me that you get more room for collect revenue, because the revenue you be supposed for the collect, where they collect if you do well, the economy bigger than what you think. So you get more enterprises for go tax and bring into the tax net. So that's it. So we revenue effort lower. Right after we don't actually rebase the GDP, we realize the revenue effort lower, so we need to do more for begin they collect more revenue.
What's not the ideal situation for a thriving economy, revenue to GDP?
Well, sincerely, revenue to GDP, if this economy they do 15%, right, you are actually comparing and hovering very well. We as a government, we don't set a target at reaching 20%. Okay, that's
now
really...
that I want to keep, because this now the president in promise when he can 2018 days by 2023 the GDP to revenue for don't go 20%.
Correct.
But now you say we did 7 to 8% from 13% by 2022. What did exactly they happen?
By 2024, we get about 8.9% efforts will be the increase every year, one percentage point, backed by revenue measures, and we will be done passed through the Finance Act. We'll do the rebasing of the GDP. Like I said, the revenue effort we realize is lower than we expect. But in 2023, we'll be done introduce a lot of tax measures in this country, protecting what we call vulnerable or poor people, or what we call not low-income people, and then we try to make sure, say we target those who are supposed to be paying taxes and have the capacity to pay taxes and lock the loopholes. Now, when we do that, we begin to realize we get 1 percentage point annual increase in revenue. In 2023, we rank out from 7.9 to about 8.9. In 2024, we rank out around 8.99%. So that's been the effort. That effort is low. Yeah, that effort is low, based on the target what we set as a government, which is 20%. That is the achievable goal, but we're not able to reach there yet. And when we rebase the GDP, we realize this is low. So that effort is what I am trying to push for right now. Even as a minister, my effort is to make sure we move on all the tax levers, whether on customs, whether on goods and services charge, GST, whether on excise, whether on corporate tax, whether on PAYE, all of those areas where we also for the collect taxes, we make sure we increase on the investment, whether on technology, whether on administration, and make sure all the loopholes and way they and introduction of technology or administration loopholes where they in terms of compliance, we go into tax administration and enhance the capacity of NRA for collect more taxes.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say on taxes as well, we encourage people don't like to pay taxes. They don't like, but if you want good services, you must pay tax. The tax they make you render services. So even for the business people, where maybe staff where they work with them, no one we they collude for not for pay, we they encourage and say, now for pay you tax. They able hold the government accountable for render services.
Okay. You mentioned say the redenomination of Williams, come with some improvements. But some time back when we get the bank governor, we see now because of the redenomination of Williams and bug the country economy, which he may say at that moment timely. So if you say now because of that we see improvement, explain the listeners.
So the redenomination will be a decision where we take a needed decision. The management of the process lead to some elements of, I'll call them, uncertainties in the financial sector. But once the project was effectively managed, and anytime you do that project and when you do that kind of thing, the currency gap was set out to a new equilibrium. That because people then they take beaucoup information for predict what is really the value of the currency gap for being. But I think say with the effective management and certainty around the fact say the process for redenomination had completed, people became assured that the legal tender is the legal tender. Okay, and then the currency settle at a level, because the beginning have been 10 to 1 will be the do right, but in all the uncertainties of the value of the currency during the period when they manage the project and the timeline will be put for that process of change or exchange complete, people then be try for find uncertainty, they make them go find who side for go keep another money, right? So it's something that they go keep another dollar before the thing settle. It don't settle around 20, 21, 22, thereabouts. I think, and since it settled where the currency denomination process completed, I think we all are sure say the market is stable. The currency is stable. Now, the redenomination normally they come with shock of uncertainties. People do not understand exactly what the process means. I think that has settled. We are in the new equilibrium in the value of the currency. We responsibility as economic managers are for make sure say the fluctuation of that currency they between limited band. Very limited band. That's our responsibility by making sure that we clear around with policies over the same, we're flexible around access to money, but also not so much restrictions around the use of the competing currency, the convertible currency, whether or not use foreign exchange and the like, and we are managing that way. So I haven't seen much, but I think the certainty we gave out there and the confidence we gave out there on the way to manage the process has actually allowed us to settle. Plus also other policies what they do around, because the currency, the value of the currency is matched against other currencies. Okay. Right? So that's really what it is. So it's matched against dollars, euro and the others. I believe that some of the policies will make not restricting access to foreign exchange, follow you import goods into the country. Don't create that stability. But also people that will produce and export, we give them say you want to repatriate on our export policies into the country. Right. And I think we are monitoring that from the Bank of Sierra Leone, and it's working out very well.
Inside the program, you don't mention a lot of issues. When you start, you mention about low revenue generation. Mm-hmm. What's the reason?
Like I said, the low revenue, current low revenue efforts, we can't understand them where we change the way we calculate the GDP of the country. So where we do the rebasing, we realize say the efforts what they make for collecting revenue, we can do more than we do now, right? That's what I said. So what that mean is that if you they collect customs, if you say you do well, you need for do more, because we don't realize say more they happen at customs than you they tell we from the effort where you they collect. That's what it really mean. So we want to make sure say something but could consider they can, but we not they know say they account for all.
Meaning leakages.
That's what
leakages present that they happen at customs.
Well, we don't go. I go down customs a couple of days ago, last week. We in the course of this year, where you ask me, right? So in 2025, what we notice is that last year, 2024, National Revenue Authority, we are responsible, delegate the responsibility to them for help administer tax policy and collect tax for we. They do very well on the target then we give them, then collect about 99% of their efforts we them for make according to the target we'll give them. So that's okay. They for do more. That's what we are saying. The capacity they for do more by what will change the GDP. Capacity is, we know say they for do more. This year, January, February, we realize say that effort they low than what we would expect. So we go down there and go talk to them. But we go talk to them based on the fact say, even the president herself call them and say, the minister don't tell me say, when our effort very low in the year. And when we don't do well last year, we'll not for continue this way. Okay? So I go down there for go know what's in there happen. And go tell them, say the effort when they make lower, because in the first January and February, the efforts now about, then get shortfalls. Shortfalls, the way me feel say, very huge. So we and the leadership, the Commissioner General and the chairperson of the board and the Minister of Finance, the Minister, the FS, we all go down. The FS is done at the board. So we go ask and say, what's in they go on? Now, the NRA chief and in commissioner they sit down, they do further investigation themselves, and they come up with a lot of areas where they say we need to do more. Okay? So in customs, Boku challenge day, for example. How then they account for the containers and where they come in? How then they account for the ship that way they come in? How then they even value the goods that way they come in? How the issues that way they with goods and services tax, the GST, the machine them, how people then how they use them. Okay, and if this is our responsibility to we the citizens. If you buy good, you for pay tax. Where you pay tax and for give you receipts. The receipts now the government they take for go no say this is what is due me. Now this due me in the taxes where I for collect. Yeah. Okay. So what we then notice that shortfalls then they pay all are loopholes then they excise. We bring in machine for collect excise. Excise now the tax will they put on certain goods that what would they say? Maybe sin goods, alcohol, cigarette, those things. And now we don't bring the machine and the way they track every product of excisable commodity inside the country, whether they produce or import. So we know the numbers. So we charge them say, if this number available, why would not they go collector? Same for telecommunications. All the mobile telecommunication companies, 3 of them were in the country. We get system where they call NSoft. We know the total volume of calls and use of data in the country. We know the total turnover of all the telecom companies. Now, when we get that volume of data, the responsibility of the tax authority, now for make sure say that data within tell us the volume of call that the amount we due in taxes, you know, for compromise, you for collector.
Okay.
The one the way mining companies, they owe government taxes. Right, so we got to engage them. So all their side and they will shortfall. Then they owe we in royalties, then they owe we in the PAYE, then they owe we in withholding taxes. So we just say, well, if they owe we want to make sure say we engage with them. The areas where they owe to we let them pay. So we don't really notice all of the loophole and they what we notice are some of the reasoning and the way make the efforts we NRA for make. Room there for improve them by locking the leakages and the other loopholes and the what we get.
Okay, now if you go rate revenue loss now customs, what think will be the percentage?
I don't want to go into that because I really want. I believe say custom for more than double waiting that they collect right now.
Waiting I mean the target we wanna get there.
Off my head, I cannot tell you, but I can tell you what we expect them for collect per month. On a weekly basis. Per month, we expect NRA for collect about 1.2 billion leons, okay?
Yep.
Per month. That is for the 4 weeks. So if you divide that really by 4, right? If you divide that by 4, therefore they really collect as much, but the effort is very low, yeah? So if you collect, like when we go there, then they collect 2022 on average in the beginning of the year. We go there last week, then double them. Okay, so for me, I think say room there for make more effort, right? That's really what it means to me. So because I set target for you, the target is very high. If they collect 1.2 billion per month, but you bring in just maybe 800, I think say you for really meet that target at the minimum. That's my own approach down towards the work, because when we set the target, now we underestimate the potential of collection based on the activities where they don't see they happen over years. So that's the effort.
When you start for explained earlier, you talk about the shifts in the economy in terms of activities and rebasing. By your explanation earlier, somebody go up say perhaps this go contributes to the tax base or the revenue na the country. We na domestic tax. We na one of the government's source for money. But what you explain now, according to the meeting we NRA get with the president, you self go down what I can get meeting with NRA should say we the domestic revenue collection they drop for 2025. What are some of the issues them where you wanna find out, say, apart from the tax area and other things them, now that according to experts under declaration now custom, wrong application of tariff, transshipment of containers, not publishing tax areas. Now some of the issues and where they don't point out, say, this now they're responsible for we say we did so in the economy where the NRA they underperform 2025. You wanna find out any one of them here apart from the mining royalties.
All of which you don't say so. NRA leadership don't identify as areas for improvement. They clearly identify as areas for immediate action. Transshipment's na issue, and it's bad. Businessmen and they bring container inside the country and they sell for Congo, na Guinea or Mali or other country.
What they offload and
they offload. Maybe they offload inside the port. So it stopped. It has to stop. Okay. So these are the leadership of NRA where they dig inside and understand waiting they happen now the place where they make sure say the resources where they're supposed to collect now they come in. So waiting transshipment mean if you be supposed to pay your custom duty, okay, then we're not like I don't know about GST on them, say about 15%. But if you the transshipper, you attract less duty, maybe less than 5% or thereabout, you go precise of 0.5%. And that's 0.5% then they collect. Then what you supposed to collect like 15% loss because the same good find inside the market then they sell them. Well, that's not right.
Is it salon they suffer from tax bypass or tax avoidance, or the couple way for go na the national cover to go na individual pockets?
All possible. And that
what you wanna find out in these three: tax avoidance, tax bypass, or individual the benefit than the states?
All of the above. And I make we talk to the staff them categorically. We tell them say in my statement to them very clear that as Ministry of Finance but also government, I set up a task force already. The task force, me and the NRA chief, we set up a task force where they ensure say them measure they get about 21 measures where they identify as area of real challenges with them for address. That task force they go through that immediately in this first quarter for make sure say we correct and hold people accountable. If then they do collusion, because colluding means the businessman and the tax collector agreeing among themselves for evading the tax, right? So that's one. So that's something that I think say the NRA boss we need for empower more, for like you get the all the wherewithal and support politically, for go through the process audit, review, investigate, and identify whether not the culprit they were responsible for this, because we cannot continue this way. We encourage people, as even a businessman, if you don't pay taxes, the only way they render services to the government, we're not able to pay them for their services.
So
that's the point.
So how true that the revenue collection dropped by 25% as of 2025?
There is a shortfall in the first 8 weeks, right? Like I say, about 25% from waiting them for collect, we draw me attention. And I tell you, say, we don't investigate the process. We get 21 items where NRA don't identify. Then 21 items that don't set up a task force. We do go make sure, say, we follow through execution of those actions for correct.
Right.
And make sure, say, in the first quarter, we meet with target then we don't set.
Okay, my colleague asked you before we take break that if not individual them the benefit, even though I don't set up a committee, any plans there for look more into this issue for being to book the one them when I think say responsible?
Yes. So now the responsibility of the authority. Okay. The authority they look at the authority know the people that will them put for do the work. And then get them work for do. So then go know. And how you they know then? Say I'll give you an example. Where would they hear from business people as well. So if a businessman brings a container, okay, and then he say I bring 4 container or 5 container or the following, the businessman pays. Then they get different systems where then they record how much the businessman pay. So say you get the secure system or you get another system, which then they collect the money in a bank. You see inside the system sometimes now for the record, but sometimes you go in a bank, sometimes I want the money they fall. If you audit that, then you know something happened somewhere.
So that means individual pocket the money to go.
Of course, or a group of individuals. So here is the point. The NRA is investigating. These are things that they are auditing. They are auditing, then they audit their systems. Then they audit their system, then they do systems integration where they allow them for know exactly what are the weaknesses then they and what are responsible for it. If you do them properly, you don't even know what are responsible for it. So that's the work way I think say the NRA authority they do right now.
But only this come only when after the president don't call meeting and engage NRA that gladly with the about tax collection and you self good on the then come up. Why the NRA not been report this before even presidents call them for go explain that glad about the way the tax collection they go?
NRA, like I say, NRA last year collects 99%, and the previous year if the first half of the year they surpass even the target. Okay? Then surpass the target will get it. So reason not be there for the alarm. Okay, but when you begin to get this kind of shortfall at the beginning of the year, and you get responsibility for pay, both wages and pay your debt service for on the administration, but you get shortfall in revenue, then alarm Nandi. On that alarm, I draw the attention of His Excellency, and then His Excellency give we stand words, very stand, no uncertain terms. I will not entertain this because we need revenue to run the economy. As a minister, I got to do my job. I go down there and we'll give them the stand word and begin to understand waiting they go on. Well, then they will begin to unearth some of them things, right? So that's the point. So then they meet their target, but as far as me concerned, maybe the target can be far much more surpassed. But the target is short now. So because the target is short, I got to make sure say I know waiting they go on, right? So that's what triggered this. When they meet the target, need not for go begin to put pressure because they will they run. But when the target begin the shot, they get for no. When you begin dig deeper, then you realize more effort they for do. Right. So that's the dynamics the way don't take place now the whole effort. But the long and short of all of this are the following: the responsibility for pay tax and collect tax. Now everybody business where they function inside this economy.
Okay.
Now everybody in business.
Right.
So and we encourage say business people and citizens, if you go pay and buy GST for example, collect your receipt. Ask for your receipt. Because we ask for the receipt, it inside the system say you pay and we will hold the company accountable for. Make sure say you pay in GST taxes where they collect for behalf.
Right.
GST not a tax where the businessman they pay. Now people they pay GST. The business now a conduit for help the government collect the tax where the people they don't pay.
Okay.
So that's how now so it work. And it's the same way for even some of the other big corporations.
Okay, we will come back to you shortly. We'll go for a break. When we come, we will continue to look at more issues we get to do with revenue generation. Before we go for that break, you mentioned a lot of things we get to do with tax and also issues that way they happen presently na custom. Any plans there for involve the Anti-Corruption Commission on this particular matter?
So yes, investigation they go on. In fact, when we talk to the staff in customs, I tell them, say the NRA chief, the Commissioner General, in 21 action point that we put, something the way they do immediately, that in the next 2 weeks to a month. And that involve investigating thing away in don't notice say get lapses, especially when you don't realize say changes there in the numbers. So if they go to the bottom and identify whether they're not the culprit. If it involve something with corruption, we they send and go to the Anti-Corruption Commission. That's the fact. If not corruption, if you go for do with internal administrative problems, you go address them. Many things I tell them, you get the responsibility for rotate people because when they're used for collude, then they're at the same place. Rotate your staff, but also if the staff are involved in anything we go for do with taking away government money, we go tantamount to a corrupt practice. Then they let the relevant authority take the responsibility. If you get for do with staff administrative action going off the job, all of that will be advised. So Anti-Corruption Commission go be involved.
Okay.
Yeah, it go be involved once the investigation proves say the action tantamount to a corrupt practice. That's the approach. But we respect with staff then. Okay, we respect the staff. We encourage them for letting them do the correct thing, right? Correcting and ensuring that they do their job. As they don't take oath for doing. That's what you want to get done. We're all responsible citizens. Now, when you do wrong, then all the laws there will can bite you, okay. Right? So that's really the thing. So we encourage them for do the right thing. So the entity and the staff and the management get the responsibility for do the action plan where they don't do based on the task force. They go make sure say then put them follow through on their actions there, and then we get the reports on a very weekly basis.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the long and short answer of.
All right. Take me through the fiscal measures for 2025.
Well, so 2025 we involve purely in what we call compliance, tax compliance, administrative efficiency of the NRA. So we no increase tax in 2025. Now 2023, 2024 introduced a lot of tax measures. And then tax measures and they will be introduced, then plenty. Then go for do with minimum alternate tax, then go for do with even GST, then go for do with the way you do if you buy property out for value and register and the value with the counter. They go for do with excise and many other things. Now, all of them they will be don't put in place. We decide for make sure we execute them. But what you will notice is that the compliance level very low. Meaning, people that were supposed to pay file tax, not the file tax. Or then the file tax delay. Okay, so we introduce what we call efficiency tax compliance measures. We limit the period for let you file. And we introduce fines. If you not file in time, we introduce fines. If you delay for pay, we introduce fines. So that's what we're executing, right? So that's it. And then we make sure say the income brackets for certain taxpayers, they are adjusted. Like if you're a high taxpayer, low income taxpayer, all of that we adjust them. So now then thing we do. Plus also integration of the technologies that will get in place because they're all the technologies and for customs, so like ASECUDA, or the ITAS, the Integrated Tax Administration System for income tax filing, or the GST, the ECR machine, we didn't then shop them for pay your GST, or even the what they call the SICPA, track and trace, both for petroleum, but also for excise goods, and then for the NSOFT. All of them technology are need for be integrated, meaning therefore they talk to one another. So then they introduce that for why? For make sure say, because from this you able to know whether somebody not file incorrect tax. If I they pay excise, from the excise they tell me say na me factory with total turnover, I don't know the total volume of goods where they produce it now, beverage or this that I don't know all the volume you produce for a year. Now if you go for pay me corporate tax, the corporate tax they come from your turnover. If you go for premium excise, this excise now on the volume of excisible goods that we produce. And you file in two different systems. You file your corporate tax inside your iTax. You file they able access you on the excise tax through SICPA. If they not speak to each other, then you not can file the correct tax. Yeah. So that's so then they introduce what we call integration of the system, so that systems speak to themselves. They go do data analytics on a given taxpayer for make sure say there's consistency in all the levels of taxes what you're supposed to pay to NRA per year.
We get a lot of text messages and people interested in this topic who we can look at. But in terms of fiscal measures for 2020. Yeah, in terms of fiscal measure for 2025, we see in the fiscal statement, the country they spend 95% of in domestic tax on debt servicing and also on wage bill, which should say the fiscal space very tight. Why then policy and why then decision as well?
You're correct. When you take wage bill, you add we debt service, then they account for the amount we don't call so 95% of we revenue collected. Okay, so it leaves small percentage 5% where you take for do other things, which is the running of the administration, with now the current spending, but also for capital expenditures. So that na the whole conundrum of how you manage the economy. Okay, that's why we say for let you manage this, because the wage bill na the wage bill. Now you get the total number of people that they work na the government, you got to pay them. Then call them non-discretionary spending. Excuse me, the debt na non-discretionary spending. You owe, you got to pay, you cannot default as a state. So those two we not get no compromise on how we get for meet them. For let you able spend on the effectiveness for deliver services like run the administration. If people then go work, you pay them salary, you're supposed to be able to make sure say you give them the tools for do the job. Now, that's what you're going to spend. That's not the administration. Or you render other services to the people who are capital spending. Now room is taken off. For let you provide for education, health, social spending, and the other, a small percentage left. So now the challenge down the road they face. Now, how do you handle this? You got to handle this by increasing your tax effort. You got to raise more domestic revenue. Now, when we realize, say, we tax effort very low, because if you did at 9%, you get to do more when we know say we want to hit 20% target. If you do 15% for us, 12% for us to 15% for us, that's reasonable enough because we generate what we call grant resources for able to make sure that we cover for the rest of effort, for cover the remainder required for you fund the administration. You get grant resources like with the budget support we get from international partners, whether now World Bank or EU, their money then they can inside for cover for the rest for run the administration. But if you never meet all of that, then you get shortfall, what we can call budget deficit. Then you got to do what they call fiscal operation. You got to do a financing, and the way we finance the budget, we go and issue government securities, treasury bills, and bonds. Those bonds means if there is money in the financial markets in the country, now the banks, then they can take an instrument in the banks and they hold bank holdings or savings for individuals or firms or companies there. That is bank then they hold. Then they make sure say they use that money there for take that as a way for invest. Government they take that extra money there for cover for the gap with it. That they then call on domestic financing of the budget. So now so they take for balance and then the whole way for manage the budget. Okay. So whether 95% don't go for pay salary, 95 they don't go for pay debt. The remaining 5% we left by the revenue, we back up with the grants what they get, and they will do what we call treasury operation. Issue treasury securities, treasury bonds, bearer bonds, or we issue treasury bills, and then we get claw money and cover for the rest. So that's how we take for manage the entire fiscal space. But for do it in a very disciplined way, wherein it is within the budget where they don't appropriate for win of parliament.
The first one I take is say, please ask the minister about the Mineral Wealth Fund and its current status. Ask him about the payment of government contractors.
This other one say, please ask the minister whether the presidency is not taking a lot from the economy. What is the percentage of spending from the president's office.
This one they also ask about how the tax concession to mining companies are affecting revenue generation. How about expenditure, particular frequent travel of the president is affecting the country, and also ask him about government borrowing.
This other one say the minister said the economy is in a good shape, but when other ministry and parastatals come to the media, they always say the Ministry of Finance do not have money and therefore have to prioritize funding of economic activity. If the economy is in a good shape, why is this case?
This one say, please ask the minister why government is struggling to give out subventions to MDAs, and also why are they selective to provide office space and vehicles for some agencies.
This other one says, sir, have you visited the market with 1,000? The cost of living is not easy for we, the poor. It is not too clear.
More text messages them inside the program Good Morning Saloon. They come to you from 98.1 FM. Today we talk to the Minister of Finance, we na Sheku Fantamadi Bangura. This one from Mustafa Bangura on our Facebook page. You say, hello Radio Democracy. Please ask the minister how rebasing the GDP will potentially increase revenue.
This one from Usfuen Kamara say, what is the present treasury bond market status of the monitoring unit and bond yield? There was a lump sum of treasury bond invested over the past years.
This from Ibrahim J. Khan. We say, please ask the minister what is the minimum wage.
This one from the last one I will take from Tunde Scott. Say they promise us a better economy. Their first time, instead they increased tax on business people, which as a result had a negative effect on the prices on the market. Few months before the 2023 election, they promised to turn things around again. After 3 months, things are getting worse. Fact in government cannot control the economy.
The last one from me, because of time, it come up from Vincent Momo. He say, thanks Mr. Minister for being a proactive leader. However, your team need to improve revenue mobilization mechanisms, set an intensive revenue mobilization strategies in the informal sector. There are a lot of tax evasions in the informal sector. The government has to improve electronic transactions, which will help to activate tax collections and minimize corruption in the country. We then text message Mr. Minister can respond to them, but this one quick. He say many schools are yet to receive first term school subsidies. We are almost at the climax of the second term. What is going on, sir?
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you, Famble, for their messages. And let me start, just go through as much as I can.
Yes.
So, Mineral Wealth Fund update. The Mineral Wealth Fund now the vision of President Bio, and the vision is very clear. Say we don't do mining for many years, and the country know the benefits as if for benefit. So he say he want to make sure say the government incessantly participate and they give back to the people. So within the Mineral Wealth Fund they do is simple and straightforward. Now for facilitate government commercial participation in the mining sector. Government says for take part in the mining sector. The government not stop anybody with the mine right now. We they respect the mining lease agreement and the concession that we don't give to the private sector where they operate. But we SSF as government, because we not get we own cash flow from the resource we own endowment, because we know they participate directly. We want increase on that resource. The current model, now royalty model and full private sector participation. Meaning, with the concession that we get, now private sector get them. Also government get them. Now people that we give concessions, then they mine. And then gold, diamond, this, that. Rutile, bauxite, not in the mine. But we want to make sure say now government participate. Now that make we set up the Mineral Wealth Fund. And no country not in the world where they develop and transform only by taxes or grant. The only way you transform now by your own effective exploitation and use of your own endowment. Now make we set the Mineral Wealth Fund. So government through parliament don't allocate one big concession to the Mineral Wealth Fund. They don't allocate also responsibility to the Sierra Leone Mines and Mineral Development Management Corporation for manage the 10% free carried interest. We, as of 2023, we President accent the new Mining Mineral Act. It give the power to the Minister of Mines and the Minister of Finance of set this structure. So then they manage that 10%. So any new company we can in the country now, 10% of the operation of the sales of the products, then government they get that directly as revenue from their operations. Not the one they will be done day before now, because we will go for re-engineer that. That's one. Second, so we are fine with this. We don't sign contracts. They don't do drilling and verification of the existing deposits. And what will they try to do now for make sure say by the 3rd to 4th quarter of this year, that operation they begin bringing resources, from the Mineral Wealth Fund. So we are doing very well on that. They ask for spending on presidency. Well, we spend on the president according to what's in the budget provide, appropriated expenditures. So if the presidency get expenditures for do now according to what's inside the budget.
And I get any statistics for any year, like almost the president in office to spend.
I'm not going to give you that the off my head now. The public responsible for, we can give that to the public anyway. But we spend according to what's inside the budget. Equally, here tax concessions to mining companies. We get what's called the Extractive Industry Revenue Act. That act the 9 we currently use and pass them in 2022. That act the 9 the guide we on how to forgive any we call them fiscal stabilization agreement. So the right now what we do is that agreement and how they take for follow for any new agreement to concession what they give to companies. So if the company a new company want for invest in the greenfield mine, they get for bring machines and the like, there are certain room where then give for give concession to them. But we try for limit as much as possible. All that free will be done the give or the lost money. Because now royalties we rely on. But not only royalties will be the giveaway when corporate income tax with the giveaway, GST with the giveaway. No, we are limiting that as much as we can. Okay. Now let government get something. Other issue you ask me is government borrowing. Okay, so government borrowing, we get a medium-term debt strategy in the country. The debt strategy is the following: because of the nature of we debt levels, we borrow largely externally concessional debts that I will commit to. We can borrow domestically within the what they call the borrowing limits, what we agree with international partners within the budget framework. So now within that limit, they will borrow year by year by year. With debt levels, the real challenge we will get in a debt service, because largely from the domestic side, because we don't take debt them. Then they fall due now. Well, that's why we need for raising everything. We got them because they take close to that and the wage bill. They take close to 95% of revenue efforts. So we need to do more on revenue because when they measure debt, there are certain parameters where they measure debt. Your export revenue and your domestic revenue, largely. Now then, they need to measure in terms of how you capacity for pay. So if your domestic revenue not too high, then they assess you say your debt, your responsibility for pay that's challenging for you. So that's why we put pressure for raise more revenue. Now issues around somebody say cost of living if I don't go to market, yes. Right? With actually through the Ministry of Trade, we monitor on a weekly basis the behavior, the performance of essential commodities. What I can say to people, inflation stable in the country right now. It don't drop really considerably. In fact, it's about 13% in January, 13.8. In February, I think we just in December. In January, it's about 14%. So it's flat. Okay. It's flat. Now, waiting that tell me, I don't look at many essential commodities. Whether not rice, whether not flour, whether not onion, whether not vegetable oil, cement, iron rod. These main things that people need to do for own activities, they're really relatively stable. Okay. Yeah, even from the beginning of this year, where would you watch at them? Okay. But I can tell you, even for basic things we need for do things in the house, I don't call rice, not so. Fish products, then stable. Except when we get this close season, right? Where we need for monitor what is happening there. But for essential things, year on year, them prices, they all really relatively very
You
stable.
can round up on them questions then quickly because we don't get time.
So on the questions, I see other things they ask for.
Subvention to ministries, departments,
they ask for
agencies,
subventions
and
to
some
ministries.
they get, some they get.
Yes. So sincerely, I would say 85% to 90%, every ministry, department, and agency gets allocation where go to them. It may not be 100%. Reason is simple. When you run the government, sometimes you they get emergency operation. 2024, for example, was a year we will be very much challenged with serious emergency operation we get for the security situation of the country.
Okay.
Yeah, so those ones will pay more attention to them. Now, if you pay attention, it will take away from other sectors. We will give them, maybe we will not reach 100%. However, as with the rollover, we dey make sure say we give them what we require for them for run the administration. All man will get all thing accepted, right? But we dey make the efforts for respond to them. But generally, in terms of like you say, minimum wage, I had somebody ask for minimum wage. The minimum wage, I can talk about minimum wage for government. Yeah, the government, nobody not earn less than $1 million. None, nobody. But the entity where they set up minimum wage now through the Ministry of Labor, then they operate. There's a special agency we get responsibility for do that.
Thank you.
Therefore, pronounce the minimum wage. We not get that now for the public. Now for businesses, government not the control minimum wage for businesses.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Can round up on the school subsidy.
On school subsidies, I just want to say I don't talk to all the agencies where they advocate for school fee subsidies. Government is spending 20% of the budget on education, and we always make sure say we commitment on education with a meter. So school subsidy, even if we pay with delay, self, we honor the obligation there. So for the time we don't begin so, right? Is it the time? I think this which time this is January. February, right? So in February, we're going to make sure that those obligations are honored.
Okay.
Right? So that's that. I don't get Baku discussion with them. But let me close really for me people. I did say the economy. I get a very positive outlook on Sierra Leone economy. The economy is an aggregate of everybody in effort, businesses, private people, government. And if you understand, government is different from the general public, business, private sector. When you aggregate all that, now you talk about the economy. The activities generally around the economy, we get a very positive outlook. We don't grow bigger. And I think so there are more people who get serious interest in investing in Sierra Leone, will attract a lot of investors, both in the mining sector, manufacturing sector, but also people that one can even do infrastructure with innovative way for spend. We're using their own money because of the way we don't open up this economy. So we feel say we get for the grow in a very resilient way. The government, yeah, we're not the administration of the current government, we get responsibility for manage. We do very well with policies then. We say challenges then they confront them. I don't say when I say we get revenue challenge, we don't begin to see early in this year, we confront them openly. Okay. And make sure say the institutions that we're responsible put pressure upon them, first Ministry of Finance, but also the delegated entity like NRA and then respective departments, let them do their job. Right. We get debt service responsibility for honor. So we make sure say we raise more revenue for honor those obligations. Let me touch interest rate high in the country. And they have to do with the way the banks then set up the price cost of funds. That is a challenge we are going to be engaging the banking system. Then they charge 40% for treasury bills when the inflation rates now 14%. So you get positive real interest, positive over 30%. It's not correct.
Okay.
That's one. It's something that we are going to engage them and make sure say we bring more assuation, because if we continue like that, cost of funds are very difficult. Private sector not able easily get access to credit for able to do lots of business and investment for themselves. We get challenges, and that's not the responsibility of the state. So government side, we say the challenge, then are immediate challenges. But over the medium term, I think the outlook on the economy is very strong. One thing also important for the people to understand, the world they change. International policies then they change. Americans British, Europeans, then they change the dynamics around aid.
Alright.
So as even in excellency, they draw our attention. Lord, we look inward and innovate on how we harness we own resources. That the challenge down there for we all as Sierra Leoneans.
Alright, we encourage the Ministry of Finance if you can buy air time, because you get a lot of things for explain. But for the from the leave of a producer, quickly, what thing we owe car power ship?
Oh, for car power ship, so I EDSA and I that you work about, they really tell me something about payment. But sincerely, we don't do very well with car power ship. We owe them, but the
Not the amount.
No, let me come. The car power ship obligations them, then they provide services up to June under the current contract. Okay, the value of that contract day between now up to that point, if I calculate everything we need for payday at the minimum $50 million. Okay, that is for the service where then they sell. They sell the service. We for collect collect the money and pay them. The problem with the car power architecture and that of not only car power, you get car power, you get how do I call it, Transco, you get CI Energy, and you get other independent power suppliers in the country. All of these people we equally owe, not to car power no more. Not to car power no more, they supply power to the grid. We don't how do I call it, unbundle the power sector. So power generation is done by private sector. Car power is one and a very stable power. But we need for pay them when they supply with power. And we people then for pay for the power when they use. Then EDSA they able to collect the money, then they don't pay. Government are subsidized with the subsidized car power, with the add money to them. Right. So between now and June, we agreement with that is to mobilize 50 million on the current bill and the arrears. Okay, where they come in, we for pay them. That's what we are supposed to pay them. And then we go engage with them on how for extend their contract, because we'll not get an immediate solution for stable power in the country. But what's important, if we don't connect to the mining sector, if we don't connect to power to the mining sector, then they provide only for themselves, then we also will get a stable, predictable source where they pay fully for the power. Right now we connected to homes and small businesses. Right. That's why, and it's not able to collect all because of the challenges. So we do metering, when they improve at the but then they do smart metering, for make sure they able to collect bulk of their money. We introduce effective private sector participation in the management of the utility itself. Okay. We believe that they will bring more efficiency into EDSA where they limit the burden on government.
Plenty thank you for joining inside the program, Mr. Minister. In name na Sheku Fantamadi Bangura, in the Minister of Finance, as they had updates the public about a lot of things where they happen at the Ministry of Finance, and same also don't talk about how we want to see the economy going forward.